What's up, everybody? Alex from TwinGamingTV back with another MLB The Show 17 video. Today we are bringing you the roster update predictions for Friday, July 21st, 2017. And a lot of you guys might have been watching my videos recently, and if you have, you know that I had a goal, a super reach goal, like we're super far away, where if we were hitting 10,000 subscribers by the time this roster update on Friday comes out, I would open 500 packs for you guys. However, we're about 2,400 subscribers away from that goal, so it's not looking too likely. If we do hit 10,000, I'll gladly open up 500 packs, but it's not looking super likely anymore. With that being said, though, I do have a new goal for you guys this week. So the roster update predictions from last week, it's currently sitting at, I believe, about 702 likes, something like that. So if on this video we can hit 800 likes by the time the roster update comes out, and we can hit 8,200 subscribers, because that's a super big goal. Last week you gave me about 400 or over 400 subscribers on the same day, so we're gonna make it to about 600. So if you guys can hit 800 likes on this video and 8,200 subscribers by the time the roster update comes out, I'll be opening 100, maybe 150 packs again, or I could do a spending spree if that's something you guys want to see. I'll definitely talk about it in future videos and have you guys let me know what you want to do. But if we can hit that 8,200 subscribers and 800 likes on this video, I will definitely be doing a pack opening, whether it's 100, 150, 200. I'll just kind of judge it by your guys' support, the amount of subs we actually get, the amount of likes the videos get, all that kind of stuff. I'll factor it in, but it's going to probably be at least 100, maybe even at least 150 packs. With all that being said, though, we are going to get into our roster update predictions for Friday, July 21st, and I just want to say a few things. I say this in pretty much every video. I'm just going to say a few things to mention them before I get into the predictions. So I start with pitchers. It goes starting pitchers, relief pitchers, closing pitchers, and then the position players: catcher, first, second, third, short, left, center, right. It just kind of goes in order, kind of the same way it is when you're making your squad on Diamond Dynasty. And my predictions are not guaranteed to come true. There's guys that I might have gotten wrong. There's guys that I might have missed. There's guys that are deserving that I just didn't get to. You know, like, just because I don't have someone doesn't mean they're not deserving, and just because I have someone doesn't necessarily mean they're deserving. But I did look at stats, and I do think they're deserving. However, they might not be deserving of as high of an upgrade, or maybe they are deserving of even higher than I give them. Just pretty much what I'm trying to say is I'm not perfect. My predictions aren't going to be perfect. I'm obviously going to miss some guys, stuff like that. So my predictions aren't perfect. I'm just letting you guys know that right now. And one last thing before we get into these predictions, this is the same with every video. Let me know down in the comments below. Comment somebody or multiple people who you think deserve an upgrade or downgrade, and give me their overall. If you want to include their team, what overall you think they should be, why you think they should be upgraded, just a position, anything like that that can help me get to that player easier, find why they deserve that upgrade or downgrade easier. Give me that below, but at least include the name of the player that you think deserves an upgrade and downgrade, and include whether you think they deserve an upgrade or a downgrade. With all that being said, though, we are going to go ahead and get into these roster update predictions. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, we're going to be starting off with these starting pitchers. The first guy we have is a starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's going to be Alex Wood. I'm giving him a +2 this week to 88 overall, and my reasoning is because his hits per 9, it's 2.9. It's nearly 3 lower than last year, and it's at 5.5 currently. So it was like, I think it was at 8.4 last year, and it's down to 5.5 this year, and he's only gotten +8 for that stat this year. You can see his hits per 9 sitting at 70 for that attribute, so definitely can get an upgrade there. And also, I think you can increase his home runs per 9 attribute. So this year it's 0.2. He's giving up 0.2 home runs per every 9 innings, and last year at the end of the season it was 0.7 home runs per every 9 innings. And that stat, that attribute, has not been changed this year for Alex Wood, so I think they should be increasing that as well. And with those, I think he gets that +2 up to an 88 overall. The next starting pitcher that we have is starting pitcher for the Diamondbacks, Robbie Ray. He's currently an 82 overall, and this week I'm going to be giving him a +1 up to an 83. This was a previous gold candidate, but just after looking more closely at his stats, I'm only seeing a +1 this week because his hits per 9 is at 6.5, and in game it's currently rated a 72. I definitely think he could be getting an upgrade there. And then his home runs per 9 is the same as last year, the same exact as last year, but it has gotten downgraded this year, so I think that needs to get back up to where it was at the beginning of the year. And with those two little upgrades, I think he can be getting a +1 up to an 83, maybe even an 84. Just kind of depends on the hits per 9 and how much they upgrade it by. The next and last starting pitcher we have is for the Rays, Jacob Faria. He's currently a 72 overall. This week I'm giving him a +4 up to a 76 overall. His walks per 9 this season, he's only given up 2.2. and so I think you could definitely upgrade that. It's currently at a 46 in game, and with only 2.2 walks per 9 innings, I think he can definitely get a boost there. His hits per 9 is at 6.6, and he's sitting at a 62, when I believe Robbie Ray's was about the same, and he's sitting at a 72 for that stat, so I think you can see an upgrade there as well. And then for his home runs per 9 innings, he's only giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, and his rating in the game, as you can see, is a 52 for that attribute. So definitely upgrade those 3 stats, and I think with those all getting boosted, you can see him getting at least a +4 up to 76, maybe even higher. Next up is the relief pitchers, and we're going to be starting with Pat Neshek, 82 overall reliever for the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm giving him a +2 this week up to an 84 overall, and he has not been upgraded this year. So he started out the year at an 82, and he's walking nearly 1 less batter per 9 innings. He's also only giving up 0.5 home runs per 9 innings compared to last 2 seasons, the last 2 seasons where he was giving up 1.2 with an average between those 2 per season, and he's striking out 1.3 more per 9 compared to the last 2 years as well. So I definitely think you can boost his strikeouts per 9, his K per 9s, his home runs per 9, and his walks per 9. And with all of those, I think he will be getting a +2 up to an 84. Not quite a gold, but definitely a good upgrade for Pat Neshek, who has not been touched this year. The last relief pitcher we have is Archie Bradley. He's currently a 79 overall. I'm giving him a +1 this week up to 80 overall, going to the silver tier, our first level changer of the week. And his home runs per 9 this season is at 0.6, so I think you could upgrade that a little bit from that 57 in game. And then his walks per 9 this season is at a 1.7, so I definitely think you could upgrade that as well from 60, get that up a little bit. And with those 2 things being upgraded just a little bit, maybe not a lot, I think he does get that +1 and does break into silver. Now on to the closing pitchers. We're going to be starting off with Roberto Osuna of the Toronto Blue Jays. He's currently an 88 overall, and this week I'm going to be giving him a +1 up to an 89 overall. He's been pitching really well this season, and his hits per 9 and home runs per 9 attributes in the game has not been touched this year, and his hits per 9 is 1.4 lower than it was last year, and his home runs per 9 is 0.6 lower. So I definitely think those do need a boost, especially because they have not been touched this year. And in addition to those, his strikeouts per 9 and walks per 9 could get a little bit of a boost. I don't see those getting upgraded a lot, but I think he could get a little bit of an upgrade to those. His strikeouts are currently at about 11.8 per 9 innings, and walks are at about 1 per inning. So I think you could see maybe into the 90s for the strikeouts per 9, and probably 86 or 87 for the walks per 9. Not a huge boost, but still a small one, and all that factoring into a +1 upgrade for Roberto Osuna. So close to diamond, but not quite for me this week. Next up is our last closing pitcher, and that's going to be Trevor Rosenthal, or as some people like to call him, Trevor Blows Them All of the St. Louis Cardinals, who's actually been pitching pretty decently this summer. I'm giving him a +1 this week, breaking into the gold tier up to an 85 overall. His home runs per 9 innings this season is 0.5, and the last 2 years it was 0.55. So I mean, it's a little bit better. I think you could upgrade that a little bit, especially because it started off the season at 84, and it's actually at a 71 right now. So it's better than it was the last 2 years, which they take the average of the last 2 seasons and then 50% this season, and then a little bit more from this season as the year goes on. That's about how they do it, and it's 13 less than it was at the end of last year, but he's doing better than the last 2 years. So I think you can definitely increase that home runs per 9, maybe to 84. I don't know if they would do it that high, but that's what it was at the beginning of the year, and he's pitching better. So I think you can definitely increase that stat, and then his hits per 9 could get upgraded a little bit. It's currently at 73, and he's giving up about 6.4 hits per 9 innings this season compared to 9.4 as an average the last 2 seasons, and it's went from 67 to 73 this year. So it's only gotten +6 this year. So I think it could get a little bit more of an upgrade. I don't know how much they would do, but it's quite a bit better. It's 3 lower than it was the past 2 seasons. So I think you could see a little bit of a boost to that. And with all those, I see him getting that +1, maybe even a +2, but definitely breaking into the gold category this week or in the coming weeks. I think Rosenthal is definitely deserving of it. Next up is the position players, and we're going to be starting off with the catchers. The first guy we have is Salvador Perez, catcher for the Kansas City Royals. This week I'm giving him a +1 up to an 87 overall. I was talking with a few people, and they said he definitely deserves an upgrade. They could see him being diamond at some point if he continues to play well, and SDS upgrades the necessary stats. But this week I'm giving him a +1. So his contact versus lefties has stayed the same the entire year. It's sitting at 49 in game, but his average is over 20 points higher versus lefties than it was last year. Also, his ISO is nearly 50 points higher than his average the last 2 years, so I think you could definitely see a boost to his power stats. I know ISO, I don't exactly know what it is. I just really learned about it yesterday. It has to do with power and stuff like that. I don't know exactly what it is, but 50 points higher than the average of the last 2 years is definitely a substantial increase, so I think you could be seeing a boost to his power as well, but definitely a boost to his contact versus lefties. I think he needs that. And with those upgrades giving him there, especially the contact and maybe a boost to power, I'm giving him that +1, but then we're just going to have to see how much they would upgrade him by to see if they would give him any more than a +1, but with my upgrades, I am giving him that +1. Next up is also our last catcher, and that's going to be Yadier Molina, catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. I've had him on my list, I think, the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm giving him a +1 this week, breaking into the gold category, and he has not been upgraded this year. He started off at an 84 overall, and he's still an 84 overall. I think his contact could go down some just because his average isn't quite as good as last year, but I don't think they would decrease it by that much. However, he has 7 home runs versus righties this year, and he only had 5 home runs versus righties last year. He has 3 home runs versus lefties this year, and he only had 3 total last year. So he's on pace to hit more versus lefties. He already has more versus righties than he did last year, and his power is the same that it started the year out as, so I definitely think it deserves a little bit of a boost, maybe just like 42 for the righties and 40 for the lefties. Something like that, though, but just a little bit of boost to his power. And with that power boost and maybe a little downgraded contact, I still think he gets a +1 and breaks into gold, 85 overall for Yadier Molina. Next up are the first basemen. We're going to be starting off with Justin Bour. This week I have him getting a +1 up to an 85, breaking into the gold category. Another level changer, another guy up to gold. And my reasoning behind this is this year his contact versus righties got downgraded, but his batting average right now is better versus righties than it was last year. Also, his contact versus lefties is 66, but he has a 317 average versus lefties this season. So I think because his contact versus righties got downgraded and he's doing better than he did last year against righties, you definitely upgrade that. And then batting 317, I think definitely warrants a higher attribute for contact than 66. I think he can definitely get a higher rating for that. And with those two things getting upgraded, I think he will get that +1. Not a huge upgrade, but enough to bump him up to gold. Next up is Eric Hosmer of the Royals. He's currently an 83 overall, and I have him getting a +2 this week. Another one breaking into the gold category. Again, +2 up to an 85 overall, getting into gold. This season, he's batting 316 versus lefties and 310 versus righties. And last year, he was hitting 233 versus lefties and 283 versus righties. So that's about a 80-point increase to his batting average. Actually, an 83 points increase to his batting average versus lefties, and then a 28 increase in his batting average versus righties. So he's definitely batting better, especially versus lefties, and then against righties as well. So I think he definitely needs a boost in his contact versus lefties, maybe get it around to where the righties is. The righties is probably pretty solid, so maybe keep that where it is and then boost the contact versus lefties up to about 80. And I think getting that huge contact boost versus lefties will be enough to give him that +2, especially if they decide to upgrade the contact versus righties as well, because he has not been upgraded this year. He started the year as an 83, I believe, and his average is like 80 higher and 30 higher. So it's just a lot higher versus righties and lefties, but his contact's the same as it started the year on us. So I think he definitely deserves an upgrade of both of those stats, especially a big one of versus lefties. And with those two contacts being upgraded, I'm giving him that +2 up to an 85, up to a gold. Next up is Marwin Gonzalez, and I don't know about you guys, but I feel like he just kind of came out of nowhere this year. Maybe I was just not really paying attention that much, but to me, he just kind of came out of nowhere this year. He's currently an 82 overall, and I'm giving him a +2 this week, up to an 84. Not quite a gold, but this season his contact versus lefties has gone down by 10. It started at 73, and now it is 63, but his average is higher versus lefties than it was last year. So I think you could see that average, or the contact rather, getting back up to 73, maybe a little bit higher, but I think 73 is a good point to have it as, especially since he's doing better versus lefties than he was last year. That's not even what it started down as at the beginning of the year. Also, if you check out his batting average versus righties, he's hitting 331 against them, and I think that warrants a little bit of a higher than 76 rating for contact versus righties, maybe like 80, 81. So I definitely think you can see a boost to that contact versus righties a little bit, and then I think at least a +10 for contact versus lefties, because that's what he started the year as, and again, he's doing better than last year versus lefties average-wise. So with those two contact stats being upgraded, I think he could get a +2, +1 or 2, but I'm going with a +2 up to an 84 overall on the year. Next up is our first and only second baseman. We have Jonathan Scope of the Baltimore Orioles. He's currently an 82 overall. I'm I'm giving him a +1 this week up to an 83 overall. So this season, he's batting 281 versus lefties and 297 versus righties, compared to 243 versus lefties last year and 274 versus righties last year as well. So that's about a 40 increase to his batting average versus lefties, and that's about a +20 increase in his batting average versus righties. So I think you could upgrade his contact a little bit, and with those small upgrades, I could see a +1 up to an 83 overall. Next up is our first and only third baseman, and our first but not only diamond prediction for the week. It's going to be Justin Turner. He's an 88 overall third baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's currently an 88, like I said, and I'm giving him a +2 this week up to a 90, breaking into the diamond category. So this season, he's batting .440 versus lefties, but he only has 69 contact versus lefties in the game. .440 average, but 69 contact. I think you definitely see an increase there. Also, he has more home runs versus lefties than he did last year, so I think you could upgrade his power versus lefties. However, he's not hitting righties, at least for power, as well as he was last year. I don't know about doubles and stuff. I just know his home run total is quite a bit lower, so I think you could see a decrease in there that might offset some of those upgrades. But I think with that contact, that huge boost in contact he deserves versus lefties, and then a little bit of a boost in power, I think will offset the downgrade versus righties a little bit and get him that +2 up to a 90 overall, breaking into the diamond category, a new diamond third baseman. Next up is our first and only shortstop prediction for the week, and actually it's our only downgrade prediction for the week. And before I get into it, I just want to mention that I'm sorry that there's not a lot of players so far, and there's not going to be like a whole lot more in this roster update. I had a frozen game that lasted 8 hours, and I just didn't have enough time to do this as I wanted, but I really do believe in all my predictions, and I think these are pretty solid predictions still a fair amount of players this week, but just not as many as I would have liked, and a lot of positions. I only have one guy, and I wish I could have had 2 or 3 for each position, but next week I'm hoping it's going to be better. But either way, Brandon Crawford, only shortstop and our only downgrade of the week. I'm giving him a -2 down to an 86 overall. I think I had this prediction last week as well, and so his contact versus lefties is 77, but he's hitting .263 versus lefties this season, and then his contact versus righties is a 64, and he's hitting .216 versus righties. So I think you can definitely downgrade both of his contact stats by quite a bit, especially the one versus lefties, and I think those downgrades to those stats will get him that -2 down to an 86 overall. And I just want to mention as well, I might have some extra guys at the end after we finish our right fielders, just because I might bring over some guys from last week, because as you might notice in this one, I don't have any diamonds that I talk about, so I might talk about some of the diamonds that I predicted last week that didn't change, so we might just talk about those guys as well. Next up is Marcell Ozuna, our left fielder, our only left fielder for the week, and I have him getting a +1 up to 90 overall, another new diamond. So Justin Turner and now Marcell Ozuna for the week. I'm getting a +1 again up to a 90 overall. I think you can upgrade his contact and power versus righties. He's batting .317 versus righties and .329 versus lefties. So I think you can definitely increase that contact, because he has 12 higher contact versus lefties, and he's barely batting lower with his average versus lefties against righties. So I think you can definitely see a boost, maybe up to like 80 or so with his contact versus righties. And then he also has 21 homers versus righties this season, and he doesn't have nearly as many versus lefties. So I think you can see a boost up to maybe the mid-80s with that power versus righties as well. And with those two stats increase, the 2 ones versus righties, I think he can definitely get a +1 and pretty easily, in my opinion, either this week or next week, break into the diamond tier. Next up is our only center fielder for the week, and that's going to be Charlie Blackmon. This is a guy a lot of you guys and just a lot of people have been telling me he should go diamond, or there's a chance he goes diamond. However, I'm only giving him a +1 this week up to an 89 overall, and here's why. So he's hitting .320 versus righties this season and .333 versus lefties, and his contact is 96 versus righties. That's super high, but then .333 average versus lefties, and his contact is only 72 versus lefties. So I think you definitely increase that. The contact versus righties could maybe even get a decrease like to 94. Not a big one, but just a small one, because I don't know if a .320 average is quite high enough for 96. I don't really know exactly how other players' contact compares to their averages and all that for the contact versus righties. So I don't know if it needs a downgrade, but 96 just seems a little bit high to me for a .320 average. And then, so I think you could upgrade that contact definitely versus lefties, and then maybe downgrade righties a little. But I don't know, and I think that's really the only stat that I could see them upgrading this week for Blackmon is that 72 contact. I think he really needs an upgrade, maybe even like mid-80s, high 80s. And with that, I think you can see a +1, but not quite a +2 this week. And last but not least is our only right fielder, Mr. Aaron Judge. This guy has been doing so well this season. A lot of people want him to go diamond. I would love for him to go diamond. I think it's definitely a possibility. However, for this week, I'm personally giving him a +2. I think they're going to upgrade him a +2 up to an 89 overall this week. So he started off slow following the All-Star break. I know their updates are always a little bit behind, a week or two, so I don't know if that will affect this update at all, but I think you can easily boost his contact versus righties. He's batting .317 versus righties this season, so I definitely think that needs an upgrade, and I think he's like about .290 versus lefties, so that could be good where it is, but I think maybe about 80 contact versus righties or so, or high 70s, and he would be awesome for his contact versus righties, so I think you upgrade that. And then this is where I think he could get into the diamond, or where it goes from instead of a +1 to a +2. I think you need to upgrade his fielding. So his fielding percentage on the season is .987. He's only made 2 errors this year. I think that definitely is worthy of higher than 76 fielding, and everyone's telling me as well that his arm strength is a lot stronger than 75. I don't know personally, but that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people. So I think if you upgrade his contact versus righties, his fielding, and his arm strength, he could get easily a +2. I think with his contact, he could even get a +2 depending on how much they do for it. And then if they factor in that fielding, that's where he could go diamond. Again, I'm giving him a +2 for the week. I think you could also see an increase to his vision, maybe like 42, 43. Not a huge increase, but just a small one. I just don't see him going diamond this week. However, if he picks it up now, because he's in a little bit of slump, but if he picks it up and continues to be on the tier he was before the All-Star break, I think you could easily see him diamond by the end of the year. Now I'm just going to go over some honorable mentions before I do my outro. These are guys that did not get an upgrade last week that I still think deserve it. Starting off again with starting pitchers from last week, I'm going to give Corey Kluber. Last week I gave him a +2. This week I'm probably going to give him that +2 as well. He's been killing it this year, and I think is definitely deserving of higher than a 92. I'm giving him that +2 up to a 94. He has 6.6 hits per 9 this season and nearly 12 strikeouts per 9 innings this season, so I definitely think you can see an increase to those two stats, which will give him that +2 up to 94. This is one of 2 possible downgrades. We have Justin Verlander. Last week I gave him a -2. I'll go ahead and give him a -2 this week as well, down to an 86. So he is giving up 2.5 more hits per 9 than last year, and 2.1 more walks per 9, and then striking out 2.6 less batters per 9 innings. So I think those 3 stats could use a downgrade, which we're giving that -2 down to 86. And I just want to mention with these honorable mentions that these are not set in stone. I didn't check their stats again. These are all from last week. I know there hasn't been too many games since the All-Star break, but I'm just saying these ones I didn't look into nearly as much as the actual predictions that ended with Aaron Judge for this week. Then there's Luis Severino. I think you could boost his hits per 9 and home runs per 9 a little bit, maybe give him a +1. I gave him a +1 last week, so might as well this week. This guy is the main reason that I wanted to do these honorable mentions, and that's because Dellin Betances, I gave him a -1 last week down to gold, and I still think he deserves that -1. He's walking, at least last week, he was walking 8.3 batters per 9 innings. In the last 2 years, the average for that was 3.9. So it's a lot higher than the past 2 years, sitting at 8.3. And his 51 for his walks per 9, that's what he started the year as. So I definitely think you could see a decrease there. And with that decrease, if they give him a pretty big one, could drop him down to gold. Next up, we have a couple first basemen. I'm starting with Joey Votto. I gave him a +1 last week. I'm probably going to give him a +1 this week as well. So his vision, I think he definitely needs an increase there. And then power versus lefties, and maybe power versus righties. So last year he had 5 homers versus lefties, and he's already at 8 this year. He's at more than last year. And versus righties, he had 24 last year and 18 already this year. So I definitely think you could see an increase into both his powers. He's only struck out about a third of the amount of times as he did last year. We're a little bit more than halfway through the season. So I think you can increase that vision as well, like I said at the beginning, and give him a +1. Next up, we have Miguel Cabrera, and he, along with Dellin Betances, are the 2 reasons that I really wanted to do these honorable mentions, and that's because I think he could drop down to gold as well. So lower his contact versus righties. He's batting .247 versus righties compared to .321 last year. That's a huge decrease. And I really don't think a .247 average warrants that 92 contact versus righties. And then power but versus both sides needs to go down. He has 11 homers this year, and he had 38 last year. He's probably, at this pace especially, not going to come close to hitting 38, so definitely decrease those power stats as well. And with those downgrades, get him a -1 down to gold. And I think that's about it for my roster predictions, you guys. Definitely let me know what you thought of them down in the comments below, who I missed, who I got wrong, who deserves an upgrade, who deserves a downgrade, why they do, why they don't, stuff like that. Just anything, let me know down in the comments below how I did. And again, let's see if we can get 800 likes on this video and to 8,200 subscribers by the time the roster update comes down. I will see you guys in the next video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, comment anything down below. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Peace out.